Well, this morning we're at the production facility in the barrel room, and we're going to meet with Patrick again. And this month we're talking about red blends, and particularly our '06 and '07 Black Dog.
Good morning.
You know, Patrick, in recent years it seems like red blends have become more and more popular. Why do you think that is?
Well, what happened was in the early days of California, pioneering days of California winemaking, they wanted to introduce wines, obviously, to the American palate, which wasn't real defined. So they went for the varietals. People identified with Cabernet, Merlot, Syrah, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and so they did single varietal bottles. But as the American palate has evolved, they've discovered that these blends that come from the old world, from Europe, have a lot more complexity oftentimes and can bring a lot more interest to the wine. So they're doing more blends now where they're not so afraid that when people see a blend they'll think, oh, it's not as good because it's not a Cabernet, and that's what people used to think here.
Well, I've heard about Meritage blends and also Rhone blends, etc.
Yep.
What are those standard kinds of red blends, and are there any other kind of standard red blends that we might hear about or buy?
Okay, let me just talk real quick about that, because you guys are, your wines are definitely old world style. We've talked about that a lot, and I think we'll continue to reiterate that message on your wines. And your wines are French. So in France, you have two dominant blends that are world famous. You have the Bordeaux blends, and you have the Rhone blends. And your Black Dog, which we're going to be talking about, is kind of a combination of the two. The Bordeaux blend is always Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, and I always draw a blank on the fifth one, but the three dominant ones are Cabernet, Cab Franc, and Merlot. The Rhone is Syrah, Grenache, Mourvedre, and like 10 other varietals, but those are the three big ones.
So what's a Meritage?
Good question, and I like the way you say Meritage, because a lot of people have started saying Meritage, which can go either way. But what happened in the 80s, Dog.avi, one of the great pioneers of the California wine business, realized that he wanted to start introducing blends, but that if you call it a Bordeaux blend in California, it's against the law based on the French appellation laws. You can't call it a Bordeaux. So he said, let's come up with our own name, proprietary name, which is what he did. He had a naming contest. Everybody submitted what they thought would be a cool name for this Bordeaux-style blend from California, and the name that won was a compound word from the merit and heritage. So the merit of the grapes and their fame, and then the heritage of the Bordeaux style. And so the combined name was Meritage, which is a very American pronunciation. A lot of people see it now and think it looks French, so say Meritage, so it kind of goes both ways.
Well, earlier now you said that the Black Dog, our red blend, was sort of a combination of a Rhone blend and a Bordeaux blend.
Exactly.
Talk to me about that a little bit.
Okay, so I want to bring up another blend that's kind of become a moniker for wines, and that's the Super Tuscan. And the Super Tuscan, which is from Italy now, not France, is more akin to what you're doing, because what they did is they took their standard grape from Italy back in the 70s, the Sangiovese, and introduced non-native grapes that the Italians didn't like and didn't want in their blends, and started blending and creating interesting wines that they couldn't label as highly defined Italian wines because they didn't use just Italian varietals, so they had to be labeled as table wines. But the world critics loved them and dubbed them Super Tuscans, and that moniker stuck. But they can blend anything with a Sangiovese. That's kind of what you're doing. You're taking your grapes and you're blending them and creating interesting wines, so that it's not really like a Meritage, which can only be Bordeaux varietals. You're doing Rhone and Bordeaux varietals, more akin to a Super Tuscan. It's called a Super Woodworth.
A Super Woodworth, that's it. I love it. Well, our '06 Black Dog is a very popular wine. Everybody loves Black Dog.
Absolutely.
And we're getting ready to introduce our '07 Black Dog later on this spring. So I'd like to talk to you about what you see are a comparison. What are the similarities and the differences, and how would you characterize these two wines?
Okay, real quick. The '06 Black Dog, both of them are similar blends. They're both Cabernet Sauvignon is the dominant varietal in both of them, followed by Syrah as the secondary grape, and then Merlot. The '06 has a little bit more, or a little bit less Cabernet and a little bit more Syrah, and the '07 has a little bit more Cabernet and a little bit less Syrah, but it's just tipping slightly. What's interesting when you taste the '06 is that, because I always say go for your nose first, and what does your nose tell you? And what's fun about this one is just really pretty fruit comes out of it. The cherry, the blackberry, the a little bit of currants, some lavender, some nice spice. It's just got some really pretty, that's why people love this wine. They love that bistro nose, that really nice nose. And then obviously it's got a nice concentration, or balance I should say, of acid to fruit when you taste it, and it just has a real pretty profile. The 07, when you first smell it, it's a much deeper, more complex smelling wine. Maybe that the fruit was a little bit more mature in the harvest time, or little different year weather-wise. But it has a similar varietal combination like we talked about, but it's definitely darker, and it has a more of that smoky Syrah thing coming out of it, and a little bit of a savoriness coming out of it, along with the Cabernet notes that we get, the fruit, the blackberries. And both of them have that Cabernet, a little bit of that green, that sort of eucalyptus sort of green thing from the Cabernet. So they're both very different. This 07 needs to be decanted. It opens up and keeps opening up, and that's the Syrah. For some reason, the Syrah is really taking hold on the 07, probably a little bit more than in the 06. They both have it, but it's just the way it's opening up is beautiful. And of course, this is always the fun part after we've talked about, you know, the background, the history, the origins, the aromas, and we get to taste the wine, and that's what it's all about. And that's what you want people to go away with is, wow, and they do, these wines, both of them. I'm excited for this 07 to come out, because it'll be fun for people to do, you know, vertical tastings of these two wines, and you'll be able to sell them as verticals. But the 06, just never fails to bring out that beautiful fruit, soft tannins, nice structure, medium weight. We always go back to how great it would be with those veal or duck or salmon, or, you know, just those kind of smoky medium weight foods. The 07, and by the way, they both have what I call that Temecula Cabernet thing, which I love, that kind of green olive component that I often get in the Temecula cabs, which I love. Wow. This one, both of them, what I love about these wines, they're so food friendly. I like acid on my wines. I don't like them when they're void of acid. These have a nice balance of fruit, the earthiness. There's a little bit more earthiness in this one. Like I said, that Syrah's coming out. A little bit of that smoke, a little bit of those deeper kind of figgy, currant, sort of dried fruit components. Nice spice on the back finish with the tannins that are real integrated. And again, you could step up your food a little bit on this one. Maybe the lamb, a little bit more grilled meats, a little bit darker flavors, but still you can go with the duck, the veal. They both have very similar traits to them. They're great wines.
Patrick, I really appreciate you spending some time today talking to us about red blends and some of the history, which I had no idea about, and about our two vintages of Black Dog. And next month, you know, we're getting ready to bottle our Pinot. So next month, we're going to concentrate on Pinot Noir.
And you know, I just have to say, and I know I don't want this video to go long for your club members who are viewing it and different visitors, but your Pinot we are all so excited about, because Pinot needs that Deleuze climate, that microclimate that only you guys have. And you've got the biggest vineyard of Pinot in the area, and it's just gonna, I've already tasted it in barrel and in bottle, or I'm not, actually it's not even bottled yet, it's in barrel, ready to be bottled, and it is just going to be exciting, the bright fruit flavor, so I cannot wait to talk about that Pinot.
Terrific. All right, see you again.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.